Hi, welcome to this session on synchronous and asynchronous learning activities on Schoology. In this session, you're going to learn the various ways in which you can engage students using synchronous and asynchronous tools that are available. In this presentation, I have shared this presentation in the description box below. And when you take a look at this presentation, you would be able to download this document in class synchronous learning activities and between class asynchronous learning activities. So you should be able to download both. And then lastly, this is just for your information, what's coming up ahead in Schoology. This is a good resource to read up about upcoming exciting possibilities of development on Schoology. Okay, let me open up this document. If I click here, it's going to download this document to my machine. I already have it. So what I have here is a list of synchronous or in-class learning activities. These learning activities are just ideas for you to plan your live sessions. These sessions could be face-to-face, could be in a split class, high flex sessions, or it could be uh, a remote teaching session on Zoom or Google Meet. So, utilizing all of these features, any one of these features or a combination of these features would enable a nice session in which students are engaged and they are performing at the same time you're lecturing them. So please go through this resource with descriptions. The other one is the asynchronous. So between classes, you could use these as assignments. Skill builder, real world mini project. There are many examples given here with descriptions. Making connections, formal lecture, case studies, worked and faded examples, e-portfolios, reflection, whiteboard activity, group memo, and there's a list of like 20 such activities available. So you can take a look at it, and then it's like a tool that is going to help you plan your classes better. Now, apart from these asynchronous and synchronous learning activities, there was the situation here, the COVID-19 situation that we have. During this situation, we're not sure whether uh, we would be able to teach all students at the same time, or if we're teaching half the students, the other half, we need to teach them using technology, we need to teach them using Zoom. And what if one student or one or more students miss out a class, or what if there is a situation where we are not able to make it to the campus and teach face to face, so we need to be able to teach from home. And in those situations where there's so many uncertainties, we need to make sure that we have concrete session planning, concrete lesson planning, which means that if we have a session Monday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., we have the session planned. Now, when we teach face to face in a traditional setting, it is very easy. It becomes like second nature. We come into class, we greet students, and we start teaching. We have a plan in our heads, we have planned somewhere in our electronic documents, and we teach according to that plan. So in that plan, we know that we're going to share a concept to be covered based on the learning outcome for that week. And in that plan, we know that we're going to have students interact with us in a discussion, and then perhaps a handout provided, a graphic organizer in which they start writing down or whatever questions you ask them, note taking, reflecting. And then perhaps towards the end of the class, you have a quick quiz going on, or perhaps in the beginning of the class, you have a quick review quiz going on. So there's so many things that we do in the classroom. There's this rich activities happening in the classroom. So in order to bring those beautiful activities that we do in the classroom in the online learning environment, in the Zoom based or remote learning environment, we can make use of something known as a hyperdoc. So I've created this hyperdoc document that looks something like this. I've customized it, and if I present it, it looks beautiful. I have just noticed what I have. I have a background with a whiteboard pasted on it, and I have these interactive uh, icons, images here. These are clickable. This looks clickable. Notice how the mouse changes from a pointer to a hand, and then I have my Bitmoji. I'm going to show you how to create Bitmojis as well. I have resources here, and I also placed a tree. I like greenery, and then this is like a classroom environment going on. And then this is Google Slide. Google Slide has question and answers that I can insert, notes, pointer, captions, tips. It's amazing. Google Slide is a single most powerful document that you can use to create hyperdocs. So I can click here and it's going to tell me what's a hyperdoc. Hyperdoc is actually something that was started by the K to 12 community, and a true hyperdoc is more than some links on a document. A hyperdoc is actually what I just stated a minute ago, the piece of lesson planning document that you have in your mind, or you have it in your electronic notes, you have it somewhere, the classroom plan, the lesson plan for that particular session that you do face to face. A hyperdoc is exactly that, except for a real page, a real piece of paper, you have an electronic document with a complete plan from start to finish of the session. So creators of Hyperdoc deliberately choose web tools to give students opportunities to engage, explore, explain, apply, share, reflect, extend the learning. So you could either use all of these features. What I have done in the Hyperdoc, okay, you can take a look at this. Since you have the link, you can take a look, and there's so many templates available. You can get started. If you look at getting started, there's so many free courses available, and then there is templates available that you can download a basic hyperdoc lesson, and these could be simple and really cater to the K to 12 education, but then simple things are amazing opportunities for higher education to be customized into more complex documents. So take a look at these hyperdoc documents and see how you can customize them for your own needs. So going back to my Hyperdoc for this session, I already explained what Hyperdocs are, and in my Hyperdoc, I'm going to use the explore, explain, and apply cycle. So when I open up a session with my students, this is what they see. They begin with this page. Hi, welcome to my session on using Hyperdocs for teaching through Schoology. This is the first page my students see, and in this case you're my students, so you see this fun bitmoji of me and my home office environment, and then this is a more serious environment where I'm seeing busy, and this is like a comical picture of me, and it captures interest. Notice how you're drawn towards this and you want to learn more. In this resource, if you click here, it's like, out of curiosities, you would click everywhere. Whatever you find clickable, you would love to click it. So here there is a detailed explanation on what you can do for explore, what students can do, what you need to provide for explain, and what happens in explain and how it can be implemented, what happens in apply, how it can be implemented. In explore, you can insert links, images, videos, or articles which allow students to independently build background knowledge for a topic. So this could be a PowerPoint lecture. You could upload your PowerPoint on Google Slides and you can link it here. You could have a video that you can link here in the explore section of your Hyperdoc. You could have any kind of background knowledge related video, newspaper article, all of these wonderful things that you use in the classroom for teaching. Just link them in the explore section. And then add instructions, guiding questions, or expectations for their exploration. Allow students to explore. And then explain. Even in the explore section, you can also lecture them. You can lecture them for a bit, and then you can move to the explain session. Add videos, articles, or pause for a while for a whole group lesson to explain the content. So this is the section where students take charge and they try to explain what they understood. So this is like an active learning experience going on. Planning a session, a Zoom session especially, or a classroom session, a live session around a Hyperdoc is very advantageous. Supposing you have a student who cannot make it to the class, all you need to do is just make sure this Hyperdoc is shared in Schoology. They will be able to access the class plan, lesson plan for that particular day. They wouldn't miss anything. They would have everything there. You wouldn't have to compose a reply back to an email. Apply post instructions for the method students will be using to apply their knowledge from the lesson. So use images, bullet point steps to simplify the process. Now let's see how I have implemented explore, explain, apply of Hyperdocs for teaching. Now this is synchronous teaching. You could do it for any kind of teaching, I would say. Hyperdocs for face-to-face teaching, Hyperdocs for remote teaching. So moving on, I had this another link in which I explain what is not a Hyperdoc. Hyperdoc is a document that goes takes the student through the cycle of explore, explain, and apply. And there are many different things associated, many different kinds of multimedia, and there is this process of teaching, there's this process of student understanding, and there's this process of application and assessment, all of these things going on. That's the main difference. But this is not a Hyperdoc. This is a multimedia text document. For example, there's this image of a human body, and if you click here, it's going to take you to the YouTube associated with the nervous system. Click here, YouTube associated with the endocrine system. If you click on the next page, there could be several text boxes here, each of them explaining different bits of the brain. You could divide this brain into different sections and have students click on different parts of the brain so that it takes to specific videos that describe the activity of the brain. So this is a multimedia text document. It is not a Hyperdoc document. The next slide takes me to a page, to a slide that explains how can you use Hyperdocs for synchronous teaching using Schoology. So you have this live session going on. It could be a face-to-face session. It could be a session using Zoom or Google Meet or any device. You can easily provide link here. You say, hey class, we are going to be using Schoology for a lot of our activities, and whoever is part of your course, all your students, naturally they're part of your course. When they click on this link, they should be able to see the course without any kind of logging in required, because they're part of the course. They should be able to access it. So you are essentially pointing out exactly what part of the course page you are pointing at. You begin with that course page. So this is how you direct the student to Schoology through this Hyperdoc. Just hang in there. I'm going to explain what we're going to do next before I go. So notice I placed this shelf here, and the items in this shelf keep changing. If you click on this image, it takes you to a video that explains how you can create a Bitmoji, just like this one. If you click here, it takes you to another video that explains how you can use cartoons and stickers and, captions, free available to greet your students. You can place them anywhere on the document and have your students, there's this joy and humor in the class. So it's like a personalized learning experience with the students instead of just plain blank canvas that lacks a lot of creativity. So adding things like these for students to click and watch, it's like, much more fun than something white to look at on through Zoom or even in the real live classroom. Okay, so let's begin with the explore activities. And in the explore activities, you could do any of these. You could begin with how's my class feeling today? If I click here, it takes me to a Google document and I say grab a text box and post your responses. This is very famous in K to 12. Sometimes they call it tweet board, where each student, they have access to this document while the teacher is talking. They grab a text box and they say, I am feeling very energetic. And somebody else insert, grab a text box and type something else. I had a great breakfast. Things like that, and they keep typing. You can later on go back and delete all these messages for your next class. So this is always something that's being generated and being deleted. So you have your students interact real time. You could also ask your students to do some poll on Schoology. You can ask a question after reading chapter 7. How many of you are feeling ready for the quiz tomorrow? I am ready, I'm not ready, I'm not sure. So point the students to this poll and have them do it real time while you're lecturing them. They will do this and we will go on with the class. So now you have two activities covered. You have them do how they're feeling. This is an icebreaker kind of thing going on, and then you have them do a polling activity. It's up to you. You can use any combination. Or sometimes I've seen these amazing teachers that begin the class with a quiz. Here is the link to the quiz. You have access to the course, adaptive course design, so you can take a look at the quiz. And then they can begin answering the quiz question. So, and then, so there you go. I mean, you give them 2 minutes, a couple of minutes, just one question asked, three questions asked, ask them to do the quiz, and then you remove the quiz from Schoology. Nobody else can answer it. So it's just available during the class time and then it's removed. That is also possible. So then you ask them that you had already created a video and you had shared it with them on Schoology. Click here. This is where it is. They all know it, but you know exactly, you're referring to this thing here, you're referring to this exact location here. There's no confusion. You don't have to say, okay, guys, go to this page. Let me open my Zoom page, let me share my screen with you. Click here, click there. No. Students have a copy of your Hyperdoc. They will click exactly where you ask them to click, and they will be taken to this link. So the question was, there was this video that was shared, supposing the students were supposed to answer these three questions, and there is a lot of discussion happening because this was asked like 3 days ago, and now the class discussion is this is all populated, and the teacher can actually highlight, start discussions and share with the class, like this is like a positive reinforcement going on. Another activity covered. So this is what you can do in explore activities. So remember, this lecture that you just shared was part of the learning material sharing. This is where you're sharing a concept and you're talking about it. Next part is the explain activities. Now that they've had a chance of learning, they have had a chance to learn. Oh, let me go back. I'm sorry. Now they've had a chance to learn. It is now it's a good time to engage them in different kinds of discussion activities. So I've come out of the present mode so that you can see what it looks like. It's like a regular PowerPoint slide, and you can insert images like this. You could upload from computer, but search the web. Search the web is the best thing. This is where the search thing opens up, and I just closed it. So if I open up image, search the web, this thing appears. So this was the latest thing I searched for. So explain activities could be answer the discussion board question on Schoology. If they click here, they should be taken to the discussion board activity right here. So here's the, I just placed a random link. It could be a discussion board activity, and then you could also provide them with a graphic organizer to put their thoughts together. For example, you could tell them to, create a graphic organizer, create a mind map of what you understood. So you've done lecturing, you taught them something, and now you're asking them to present it in the form of a graphic organizer or a mind map. There's so many graphic organizers available. I just wanted to link you with this resource, especially for brainstorming, so that you can pick up something like this. And there's a free account associated with this website. But then, not just this, you can also copy it and paste it on a Word document and have students create it. And the wonderful thing about these kind of tools is that they allow students to share. This is one of the favorite ones. They can share it. Real-time collaboration. You could recreate this, Google Doc document, and students can type their answers real time, grab a text, start typing, and you would have a nice discussion going on based on that video. Or you could ask them a different kind of question that would help them explain things better. Another document that I shared with students, my students, is you could create your own version by signing into your Google account, go to file, make a copy. So you can teach students to file, make a copy. If they make a copy, whatever they do is going to be their own work, and then they can share it with you towards the end of the session. Tell them to take notes and also share the notes with you towards the end of the session. That way you know what kind of notes they took and whether they found the lecture helpful, they found activities helpful, or any kind of note-taking activity you want them to do together. You could even provide 15 minutes of group note-taking time where 5 students share one document and they collaborate and they write, and then you have access to all of these documents. So many things are possible. And then I also had resources for explain activities. Again, this is the video that I created for the discussion board activity. You could place different things here. Lastly, we deal with the apply activities, where you invite students to apply their learning. And these are the list of tools that you can use. You can provide these multiple media tools for students to apply their learning. I have a wonderful presentation here. This was actually a session that I did. I think this was this is a session that I did. You can go through this session, and it has details on how you can implement different kinds of software out there for to teach students to submit assignments. And there was a video developed for the same topic, how to provide multimedia tools for students to submit assignments. You can take a look at this video here by clicking on this video icon. It takes you to a YouTube video. And then lastly, I had a nice web source, a World Wide Web resource, making online learning active by Higher Ed Gamma. So you can click on this. It's like a web magazine, and it further talks about rich tools you can use to teach and to engage students in activities. Finally, I would ask you towards the end of the session to grab a text box and ask a question. All right, then, thank you so much for watching this video towards the end, and I hope this helps you a lot.